gonna keep preparing. All right. So today I'm presenting on the topic which has a basic general name, leadership skills, and I chose the article Leadership and Motivation, a core concept by Martin Evans. He was a professor at the University of Toronto, and what it's all about. So to start with, in his article, he was referring to earlier researchers of others scientists, and those scientists were mainly looking at the leadership and motivation, the outside reasons of that. What are the conditions when an employee works the best, when he feels like working the best, and what actually influences these. Mr. Evans decided to take a look at another perspective. So in this way, he developed main ideas in his article, such as working theory of motivation, which states that each employee has a set of basic needs that should be satisfied, that should be met while he is working to keep him going, which are self-actualization, esteem from the superior, from peers, love, and security. So these are the key in motivational behavior. So without that, employee basically has no reason to go to work, has no reason to complete the assignments. So you can make the person work for money, but there's gonna be no love in what he is doing. So it basically means it makes no sense, and in the long term, the person will just end up coming up to the manager saying, "I'm done. I want you to fire me." Another main idea, which was revealed in the article, is so-called path goal theory, path goal instrumentality. So in this concept, Mr. Evans says that originally every employee is goal-orientated. It means that everyone, no matter how ambitious he or she they are interested in achieving the goal. So that's why it's called path goal theory. And instrumentality is developed through the ways how one or another person, employee, is reaching their goals. So depending on personality, depending on what particular goals the employee is looking in his job, he could be either high or low performer, or just show low or high performance. And also path goal instrumentality, path goal theory refers to, it's defined as a degree to which individual perceives that a given path, this particular path, will lead to a particular goal. It was, so this was the theory of room. He was researching it in 1964. And also the third main idea in the article, independence between leaders' behavior and path goal theory. So here, Mr. Evans is providing the evidence that there is an interdependence between the leader's behavior and path goal theory, as well as path goal theory and the performance of the worker. So everything is connected, as usually. And I do believe that the leader's behavior is one of the crucial facts that actually influence employee. So that was the main ideas of the article. Is there anything else I would like to add? There are actually there were some older theories in this article, but they were all they were all side effects. Also, in terms of the article, Mr. Evans even carried out an experiment. He asked the employees of a hospital and the utility the same questions, and he figured out that the medical employees were not actually that dependent on the authority of the leader. They were self-driven more than they were motivated by a person. Probably because I think it's because that kind of job, when you work with people, you help people, such as doctors or nurses, you are more orientated on the customer or on your patient who you're taking care of, rather than the doctor who's saying, today you need to make sure you looked after 20 people who were in our hospital. But this is just my idea. I guess it makes sense. Okay, now something about the critical thinking part. So, it was actually not an easy task to find an article which would meet all the criteria for this assignment, because it should have been the article 12 to 15 pages long, and it should have been on a particular topic. So the article I found is quite old. I would say it's ancient. It's of 1970. So when it comes to critical thinking, I chose three basic things to critical think about, which were objectivity, currency, and coverage. So, talking about objectivity, the main ideas of the article show us that they are quite biased, referring to the 21st century reality. Again, because the article is basically focusing on the direct influence between the employer or leader on an employee. I think in today's reality, again, people have their own, they have their own ambitions, and they tend to be individualists in their work. So they try to find motivation themselves rather than check out every question with their leader, with their manager. Yes, even though the leadership still has exclusively significant importance, there is no way it can be considered as the one and only factor of an employee's motivation. And yeah, for nowadays situation, such traits as cooperation, emotional intelligence, and sympathy are the key role in a leader's success. And yeah, the ability to motivate people. I think it's something that it might be either inborn or brought up, but definitely people need to strive for that, and they need to make it their goal. If they want to work with people, if they want to motivate people and make the project be finished on time. Then we're talking about currency. So, what I wanted to say in this part. Oh yes. Well, in the article, Mr. Evans was considering hospital and utility. To be honest, I'm not even sure if there are any kind of utilities existing nowadays. There are some more modern types of businesses, and I'm not sure if that kind of questionnaires or surveys can actually be carried out within those businesses, because I don't think it would make any sense. I mean, I don't think nowadays someone is asked, what do you think about your manager? Do you think he's a good manager? How do you feel about him? Does he or she make you happy? So I guess in 50 years time, it was something innovative maybe to ask people how they feel about their work. Nowadays, I think it's part of how a business is operated, and without the feedback from people, they will probably not even be hired. So, coverage. I think the article does cover the main does cover the main idea, and it justifies the name of the article, which is leadership and motivation, by showing the interaction between motivations and so shows interaction between the ability to motivate and the ability to follow and perform and do results and show results. And I think this is all about my presentation. I wanted to say that talking about the things which were new for me, I would say all the theories that I had looked at were quite interesting. Even though I was majoring in economics, I didn't know that there are particular formulas with the help of which you can calculate the motivation or the efficiency of a leader. But in the article they were talking about that. And I think I didn't know about those articles because they're quite old. So it's good to go back to the past and learn about how it all started, because I think at that time all the researchers started to participate in that kind of research in different ways. All right, so I think I'm finished with my presentation. If anyone has any questions, you're free to ask me the questions. If there are no questions, I can tell you about the lead I admire.
Yeah, we could have two questions about the article or feedback about her presentation.
I have a question from you.
Oh, from you? Okay, from me.
First.
Okay.
I'm a little bit confused about the critical thinking demonstration.
Yeah.
Shall we ourselves specifically mention that, okay, this part is coverage, this part is currency, for example, this part is accuracy?
No.
Or, no.
You basically criticized for significant the standards from this article. For example, she criticized on this currency. It's maybe out of date. Some of the theory not apply now, right? Some bias there, right? The coverage, she probably says coverage pretty much a lot of content. It's good side, and something good, something could be bad, right? Missing. So you pick up 3 standards, right?
So we will pick up 3 standards
Yeah.
and put it in our lecture, not mention.
Also, article, your one page summary, and also on your presentation.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't include any critical thinking in my article. I concentrated on simply pointing out the ideas and the conclusions and how it can be applied in real life.
Right.
Unfortunately, but yeah.
But well, you have advantage for first presenters, right? So I can massage it together.
Yeah, and
but for you, rest of the next presenter, you should have at least 1 paragraph to cover this critical thinking, okay, in your summary. It's called article critics, right? You don't know critics why you select this article, right? So if you publish your own paper, right? You have at least 2 or 3 critics before. It's called peer review before the can be published. You always some things you can criticize, but from this class you criticize from critical thinking aspect, which you laid out already. Yeah, there's 2 points for this assignment. Make sure you cover that. Also, like this presentation, you specifically covered the 3 main points there. Yeah? You should have a question for presenter.
Yeah, by the way, the Campbell, I took the last paragraph for coverage critics directly from the article. So at the end of the article, Mr. Evans was explaining about how the results can be applied in real life. But don't forget, it was 50 years ago. So it's hard to imagine if we can apply the results nowadays. But I guess for that time, it was a breakthrough, and it could be implemented, and it could help businesses to operate better. And at the end of his article, he mentioned the study of scientist Campbell, who was doing some research 3 years before Mr. Evans did, and he said important aspects of the leadership situation will be changed over time by leadership style which reduces stress, improves internal group relations, and contributes to improved leader-member relations. Likewise, any style of leadership which improves performance can lead to increased position power, which I guess is going on nowadays and started not yesterday. I mean, this is a constant process, and the leadership theories, the way leaders are created, the way how they use the labor resources is changing every day, and maybe it would be a nice idea to have some kind of a socialism in terms of capitalism, when everyone is taking care about each other. There is not only money and money and service relationship, when okay, you do your job, I pay you money, and then you're free. If you don't do it good, I'm not paying you, and then there are conflicts. So I guess people will remain people, and yes, well, with the help of psychology and organizational behavior theories, maybe they will evaluate it into something more pleasant.
Okay, I have a question for you. We go back to page 1.
Sure.
This one.
Mm-hmm.
Regarding the main idea, point 3. So,
yes.
So you said it's an interdependency between leadership behavior and past goal theory.
Yes.
Can you give an example on that?
Yes. So just like I mentioned, every employee has a path goal, which means that originally the employee is orientated on the goal. And path goal instrumentality is another theory, which was studied by another scientist. I'm gonna tell you the name of the scientist. Was it Porter? Yes, it could even be Michael Porter.
Oh, Michael Porter? Okay.
Yes. So there is a scheme about what path goals are about. So there are three factors which identify the path to success to every employee, depending on what their goals are and how they actually imagine success. So leaders' behavior has an impact on the goals of the employee, and the path goals, influence the performance of the employee at the end. So it seems like interdependence. I think interdependence here refers to not the direct connection between the leader behavior and the employee, but there is also a path goal instrumentality is involved, which is in between the leader and the employee. So, for example, path goal instrumentality in conjunction with goal importance determines the level of motivation to follow a given path. So leader has an impact on the motivation. Then the motivation in conjunction with environmental factors determines the actual frequency with which a path is followed. So meaning that the employee, if they want to achieve their goal, they need to follow it day by day, and they need to get motivated on a daily basis. And
so that means behavior, past goal is correlated.
Yes, they correlate.
Correlate,
Yes.
yeah.
So in every step, at whatever factor we take, is it a goal importance or environmental factors, or the third ingredient is past frequency. In every of that path, leader's behavior is interfering.
Yeah.
So leader is the one responsible for employees' motivation, employees' desire to keep going wherever happens, wherever difficulties they face, and probably creating those good conditions for the employee when self-actualization, esteem, love, and security are met.
So for this main point is very critical for everybody learning. Of course, I want you communicate clearly. Be better use your own example, your own experience to demonstrate your understanding. And particularly, you could agree or not agree. Give example. The example from your own experience, which is more relevant. You could use the example from the article. So that's
it's not really an example. This is just an explanation. So
explanation use some interesting, easy to understand. Help everybody understand this. Understand your main point.
That's right. Yeah. But I decided not to focus that much on the third idea because it wasn't the Evans research. It was somebody else's research, which Evans refers to in his article to show he just refers to that to show what was done in the past.
Okay.
And saying, well, this was researched earlier.
Well,
today
when you present these articles, you should present the interesting, relevant to everybody, so
That's
everybody
right.
can learn, right? From you.
Yes, sure.
That's, from this article. Okay. So, any other question for this article?
I have
Please.
a question for Anastasia.
Sure.
How do you think leaders should motivate our generation? Because we seem to be really different from the past generations. So what do you think? What is your personal opinion?
I personally think that throughout the whole time, setting an own example is the best motivation. People are creatures who tend to lose faith and hope in themselves, in the environment. So when a person sets the example and says, look at me, I'm just a human just like you, but I'm doing it, so why can't you do that? There is nothing that can stop you. And I think leadership is more about motivation and inspiring and being strong wherever happens. And people need that. And yes, well, talking about some professional issues. Of course, leader should be a professional, a specialist in his field, wherever he's doing. So yeah, sure.
Okay, let's move to we have time. We move to presentation.